Ever wonder what keeps those massive hunks of metal soaring through the air?
It's a bit like magic, isn't it?
Well, it's actually some pretty incredible technology. We're talking about avionics, the intricate electronics that make modern flight possible.
Right, and you sent us some really interesting stuff from RoleCatcher about the masterminds behind those systems, Avionics Technicians.
Let's decode exactly what they do and see if it's the career path for you.
What's fascinating about this field is it's not just about nuts and bolts, you know?
Yeah, it seems much more involved than that.
These technicians are practically electronic surgeons. They deal with the nervous system of aircraft, even spacecraft sometimes.
Wow, that's a pretty intense comparison.
It is. We're talking navigation, communication, flight control. They handle everything that keeps those flights smooth and safe.
So it's like their work is interwoven with this sense of cutting-edge technology and the wonder of flight.
Absolutely.
They're installing, testing, troubleshooting. It sounds incredibly hands-on. But what does that look like in their day-to-day?
Okay, imagine this. A critical navigation system just throws a fit mid-flight.
Oh, that's a nightmare scenario.
An avionics technician has to spring into action right then and there and diagnose the issue on the fly.
So like thinking on their feet.
Exactly. Maybe it's a faulty sensor, maybe a software glitch, they have to figure it out, and then implement a solution, all while ensuring everyone on board is safe.
Talk about pressure.
You can say that again?
That's a real-world example of troubleshooting, if I've ever heard one. RoleCatcher highlights that, along with equipment maintenance and repairing as essential skills. So this definitely isn't a job for those who shy away from pressure.
You got that right.
But what about the work environment itself? Where are these technicians spending their days?
Yeah, so you won't find them in a swanky office, that's for sure.
I figured as much.
Think more like hangars and workshops. It's the heart of the action. They're often working directly on the aircraft.
So it's gritty, it's hands-on.
Exactly. A far cry from your typical desk job.
That sounds both daunting and exhilarating. But let's face it, practicality matters too. What's the job market actually look like for aspiring avionics technicians?
Well, the good news is the job outlook is, you could say, sky high.
That's a relief to hear.
The aerospace industry is in constant growth mode, so that means a steady demand for skilled technicians to keep pace with the new tech.
That's encouraging for anyone considering this path, but let's get real. What are the highs and lows of this career? RoleCatcher mentioned some tempting perks, high demand, good salaries, job security, working with cutting-edge tech, even potential travel opportunities.
Yeah, those are all fantastic perks. It's important to remember, though, every career has its trade-offs, you know.
Sure, it's always a balancing act.
That potential for travel, for example, might mean being away from family for stretches of time or dealing with unpredictable schedules. And the work itself, it can be exhilarating, no doubt, but it also means long and irregular hours, often in demanding environments.
Right, and potentially hazardous ones too, I imagine.
Exactly.
So it's not just about the excitement of advanced tech. It's about honestly assessing if those trade-offs work for your personal life too. RoleCatcher's pretty clear about the high level of responsibility that comes with this role you're dealing with, the safety of aircraft and everyone on board after all.
Absolutely. And that's precisely why precision and attention to detail are non-negotiable for an avionics technician.
It's not a job you can afford to be careless in, that's for sure.
Even a seemingly minor oversight can snowball into something much bigger with major consequences.
It takes a special kind of focus to thrive in that environment. What other qualities do you think are crucial for someone considering this path?
Well, beyond the obvious technical aptitude, you're going to need a certain level of mental fortitude.
Like being able to think clearly under pressure.
Exactly. Think about it. You're dealing with intricate systems, often in cramped and uncomfortable positions, under pressure. You need to be meticulous, patient, and able to stay calm, even when things get, well, turbulent. And speaking of those certifications, they aren't a one-and-done kind of thing.
Right. It's not like getting your driver's license and you're set for life.
Exactly. RoleCatcher really stresses how important continuous learning is in this field, which makes sense. Technology in avionics doesn't just evolve, it takes off like a rocket.
It's not a field you can just coast in, that's for sure.
No, not at all. Avionics technicians are in a constant race with innovation. They always have to be learning about new systems, software updates, new repair techniques.
It sounds like a career for those who are true lifelong learners.
You hit the nail on the head, always upgrading those skills. And speaking of showcasing those skills, RoleCatcher mentioned building a portfolio, which might seem a little surprising.
Yeah, that's usually something you associate with more creative fields, not necessarily for technicians.
You'd be surprised. It's not just about listing out your certifications. Think of it this way. Imagine a portfolio that showcases how you tackled that navigation system malfunction we talked about.
Oh, I like where you're going with this.
You could document the steps you took to figure out the problem, the solution you implemented. It demonstrates your expertise in a way a resume just can't capture.
It's like a highlight reel of your avionics adventures,
Yeah,
giving potential employers a sneak peek into your problem-solving skills.
exactly. And it helps you stand out. In a competitive job market like this one, it's a great way to show the unique skills and experience you bring to a team.
Speaking of teams, we've been talking a lot about the technical side of things, but what about the human element? What's it actually like to be an avionics technician day to day?
That's a great question. While there's an element of working independently, like when you're elbow deep in a complex system trying to troubleshoot something, collaboration is huge in this field.
So it's not just you and a mountain of wires in a hangar somewhere.
Huh, not quite. Avionics technicians are part of a whole ecosystem.
What do you mean?
Well, there are other technicians, engineers, you've got pilots, even air traffic controllers. They've got to communicate effectively, share information clearly, and work together seamlessly to make sure every flight is safe.
It's like a finely tuned orchestra. Everyone has their part to play.
Exactly. And speaking of those interconnected roles, what about the relationship between avionics technicians and pilots? Those two seem particularly close-knit.
It makes sense. They're both working towards the same goal,
Yeah.
safe and successful flights.
Think of it this way. Pilots, they're responsible for actually flying the plane.
Right, right.
Avionics technicians are responsible for making sure that aircraft is fit to fly in the first place.
So there's a huge amount of trust there.
Tons. It's a partnership built on trust, mutual respect, and understanding just how crucial both roles are to aviation safety.
That's a powerful way to put it.
Pilots need to trust the avionics systems are working flawlessly, and technicians need to trust pilots are providing good feedback and are sticking to proper procedures. It goes both ways.
It takes a special kind of person to thrive in that kind of environment.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who's not only technically gifted, but also a team player, a good communicator, and passionate about aviation.
Couldn't agree more.
We've talked about how demanding this job can be, the long hours, potential dangers, but what personality traits do you think are essential for someone considering this career?
Well, we've already touched on a few. A solid work ethic, a collaborative spirit, strong communication, a real passion for learning. Those are all key.
Absolutely. But let's dig a little deeper. What about traits like being super detail-oriented, patient, able to stay calm under pressure? Those seem pretty critical when even a small mistake can have major consequences.
You're spot on. Remember, you're working with intricate systems in potentially cramped spaces, often under a time crunch. You need that calm focus to excel.
And what about problem-solving skills? That feels like a must-have for any avionics technician.
100%. They need to be able to think critically, analyze complex situations, come up with solutions on the fly. And it's not just about cracking open the manual and following the steps. It's about using your experience and knowledge to troubleshoot in real time.
It's almost like being an aviation detective, right? You're piecing together clues, analyzing evidence, and using your powers of deduction to figure out why a system is acting up.
Now, that's a great analogy. Like a detective, the best avionics techs are really driven by curiosity, always asking why. They have this thirst for knowledge, this desire to understand how things tick, and they never give up until they find a solution.
It sounds like a career that really calls for a certain type of person, someone with that unique blend of technical know-how, analytical thinking, and mental toughness.
It's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. But for those who are wired the right way, it's incredibly rewarding.
And speaking of rewarding, what are some of those intangible rewards? The things that might draw someone to this field beyond the day-to-day tasks.
Well, just imagine knowing that the work you do keeps countless passengers and crew members safe.
Knowing you're making a real difference in the world.
Exactly. That sense of purpose, of contributing to something bigger than yourself, it's incredibly motivating. And then there's the element of adventure. You're working on these incredible machines that defy gravity, that connect people and places, that really push the boundaries of what humans can do. That wonder and excitement, it never gets old.
It sounds like the perfect fusion of technical challenges, human connection, and a touch of magic.
I'd say so.
RoleCatcher describes avionics technicians as essential in the aviation and aerospace industries, and I think we're really starting to understand why.
They're the unsung heroes that keep us all flying. Their work is absolutely fundamental to those industries. And, as technology keeps advancing, the role of the avionics technician, oh, it's only going to become more and more important.
Absolutely. We're already seeing insane advancements in avionics tech practically every day.
It's true.
It makes you wonder, what does all this rapid change mean for someone thinking about this as a career, say, 5, 10 years down the line?
Well, for one thing, those future technicians, they're going to need to be even more adaptable, even more tech-savvy than ever before.
That makes sense.
I mean, just think about it. Aircraft and spacecraft, they're becoming so reliant on advanced software, AI, even autonomous systems are starting to come into play.
So it's not just about wires and circuits anymore.
Not even close. It's about understanding code, algorithms, really getting into the brains of these machines.
To a whole other level of complexity.
Exactly. And it's not even just about fixing things when they break. As these systems get more and more complex, the role of the technician, it's going to shift.
How so?
It's going to be less about reactive repairs and more about getting ahead of those breakdowns before they even happen.
Interesting. So less fixing and more fine-tuning.
That's a great way to put it. Becoming the architects of efficiency and safety up there in the skies.
I like it.
And as we see things like urban air mobility, those flying taxis everyone's talking about, and these super advanced air traffic management systems, well, the demand for highly skilled avionics technicians, it's only going to skyrocket.
It's pretty wild to think about, honestly. All those new technologies changing how we think about travel and transportation.
It really is. And that's why continuous learning, it's not just a good idea in this field, it's essential.
It's the key to staying ahead of the curve, for sure.
You got it. Those future technicians, they'll need to be constantly on the lookout for new knowledge, new skills, finding ways to apply what they know to these cutting-edge technologies.
Always learning, always growing.
Exactly. And that's part of what makes this career path so exciting. It's constantly pushing the envelope. And that means there's always something new to learn, something new to discover.
It's a career that's always evolving, just like the technology itself.
That's the beauty of it. And this journey, well, it can take you to some pretty amazing places.
Literally and figuratively, I imagine.
You got it. Literally, because you could be working on these mind-blowing aircraft, spacecraft, maybe even traveling the world.
And who knows where those skills might be needed in the future.
Right. And figuratively, because you're at the forefront of this whole industry that's constantly innovating, constantly changing the world.
It's been incredible getting this inside look at the world of avionics technicians.
It's been my pleasure.
We've covered so much ground, the ins and outs of the job, the challenges, the incredible rewards. It's definitely not a career for everyone, but for the right person, someone with the skills, the drive, and that real passion for aviation and technology, well, it seems like it could be an incredibly fulfilling and, dare I say, future-proof career path.
I think that's a perfect way to put it. It's a career with a bright future, and that future, it's only going to get more and more exciting as we explore what's possible in the skies and beyond.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive on avionics technicians, we want to leave you with this thought. What part of this conversation really stuck with you? Was it the hands-on work, the problem-solving, the chance to be part of something truly groundbreaking? Whatever it was, hold on to that feeling. The world of avionics, it's vast, it's full of potential, and who knows, maybe it's the perfect place for you to launch your own career aspirations.
Now go out there and make it happen.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for joining us.